Thank you for joining us for another episode of So What's Next? I am your host, Jeremy Medor.
And I'm your co-host, Kristen Smith, and we are sitting here with
Sam Squailia, Mayor of Fitchburg.
Sam, it's really nice to have you in the studio today. I've been looking forward to our conversation and anxious to hear a little bit about what's happening in the Fitchburg area from a more inside the office standpoint.
So excited to get into it.
Fantastic. So what got you into this line of work to begin with?
Well, I started, I ran for city council in 2017, but it kind of didn't start there. I would say it more started, I don't know, how long do you want the story to be? But Cliff Notes, I'd say I had my daughter in 2010, and after I had my daughter, I don't know, like my views on everything shifted. I don't even remember what my goals in life were before I had her.
But it was all forgotten at that point.
Right after I had her, I'm like, we need to build up this city to be the best so that she grows up and then comes back here and stays here forever.
Sure.
And so in 2012, we started a business because I sent my daughter to daycare in 2012, and I was like, wow, daycare is expensive.
Yeah.
So we started a business with me and my husband, and so I started setting up at the Fitchburg Farmers Market with our business, and I realized, they need some help. So I started helping out the Fitchburg Farmers Market, and next thing you know, some people saw that I was a helper. So when you see a helper, you gotta put your claws in that
very
person,
much, very much.
and then you gotta get them involved in everything,
Yep.
and that is what happened.
Yep.
So they're like, "Hey, Sam, we're all meeting down over here, and we're gonna talk about this cultural council stuff." And I was like, "All right, sounds great." So I go, and next thing you know, I'm involved in that.
Yep.
Then they got me, roped into this thing. Next thing you know, I'm doing the Fitchburg Dog Park, and so next thing you know, I'm involved in many, many things across the city. And
Did you find that fulfilling?
oh yeah,
Okay.
It's volunteering. You meet the best people,
All
right? And you meet everyone in the community. So
You can, but there's also the opportunity for burnout. Did you ever?
yes, I've met many people
All right.
who have been. You can see that they've been frustrated through the trying, and they're frustrated with life. They're frustrated with Fitchburg. They're frustrated with the old ways. They're frustrated with everything, and they become pessimistic.
All right.
Whereas, maybe when they started, they had hope. So yeah, you can see how. I can see burnout.
So that's how burnout typically presents itself when it comes to volunteerism?
I mean, that's what I see.
That's what you see?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my perspective.
That's fair.
Yeah. So in 2016, we had a city councilor who won state rep. So there was an open city council seat, and that gets chosen by the members of the city council. So I got really pushed by the community, to put my name in.
Oh, okay.
And I got my arm twisted in 20 directions,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, all right.
All
Fine.
right, I'll do
so
it.
I put in my name for that, and I had a huge outswell of support from the community.
Right.
Not one vote from the council, but a huge outpouring from the community.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then at that point, I said, well, all right. And then I applied to be on the cultural council.
Okay.
And I was denied that by the mayor. And so I said, okay, well, all right. You don't want to have me sit at the little table. I'll run for city council. I'll go sit at the big table.
Okay.
And that was 2017. Won that.
Yeah.
So became a counselor, served there for 6 years. And like every day, hey, after I talked to someone, they'd be like, hey, you should run for mayor. Why aren't you the mayor? Yeah. Every single day it was, are you going to run for mayor? Wait, you should be mayor. And I'm like, So, after 6 years, there, were some things in the city that I'd like to see changed, and some things that weren't happening.
Yeah.
And, just a culture of, I'd like to see I wanted to see more of a culture of respect.
Okay.
And, some other things changed. And so I was like, all right, I have to do it. So
All right.
ran for mayor in 2023.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
I was hoping someone else would do it.
Yeah. No, I understand that. There's only so much of a leadership role that sometimes you want to accept, right? And when you're the one who has to enact the change that you want to see, it gets frustrating sometimes because you feel like you're leading the charge on everything.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes, it's like, if just the presence, right, of a just being there
Yep.
and being present.
Yep.
Really just helps kind of motivate things. It motivates people,
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
they get motivated to start doing more things.
But they derive that motivation from your inclusion.
Sometimes. Yes.
Okay.
And so the goal would be really to pass this on. And
Sure.
Every have groups of motivation, and everybody's working on their own, but all together.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal.
Okay.
And so yeah.
All
Now,
right.
did you grow up in Fitchburg? Is that your ultimate connection?
Yes, I bought my parents' house in 2007 after I came back from college.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I've always lived in the same place.
Yeah.
All
And then
right.
what did you
Wow.
do career-wise before?
So up until January 2nd, I've been a building designer, project engineer.
Nice.
For 25 years.
Very
Wow.
cool.
Yeah. So let me tell you, it is helpful knowing building codes and how
I bet.
designs work and infrastructure and building
Yeah.
and building processes and engineering as the mayor.
Right.
Because
Oh,
we
yeah.
have so much infrastructure work. We have so
Yeah.
many, like, even just someone putting an addition on their house.
Yeah.
And they have an issue, their contractor is telling them that the city of Fitchburg is not being
Oh, it's
is not
easy to pass
working.
the buck.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's the city of Fitchburg's fault. And then the city of Fitchburg is like, hey, your contractor's not doing this. So, they'll have the owner call me.
Yeah.
I'm like, yep, hold on, let me open up the portal. Okay, I can see what's going on
Oh,
here.
wow.
You need to put an addition on, and it's like, oh, well, I just recently had one with, well, we need a beam calc. And I said, yep, it says right here 2 months ago that says that you needed a sealed beam calc. And then 2 months later, he was given just a beam calc without a seal.
Okay.
It's like, well, what does that even mean? Like, well, your contractor should know
Should
that.
know,
That's
yeah.
building code. You have a
Right.
22-foot LVL.
Sure.
All right, you need a beam. You need it stamped by a registered engineer
Yep.
or an architect.
Yep.
So just having those, be able to explain those things, like as
Yep.
an intermediary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you could be a mayor
Yeah,
without knowing
and
that.
I'm sure to a degree they probably don't expect you to know that. Like they probably don't know what your background is. So that's like awesome.
Well, for an up and coming city like Fitchburg, where you guys are we are under this great period of changeover from older technology, older buildings, older usage to what we're trying to push for, which is the more modern approach. Developing those as living units, as stay and play units. Like we're talking about some significant overhaul there. That really is intrinsic to the function of the mayor position at that point.
Yes, and everything that you just described is very intrinsic to the function of the building code, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are so many complexities when it comes to old buildings and renovating them
Right.
with new construction and requirements of the code.
Yep.
That being able to have those conversations and know what is feasible cost-wise
Yep.
or practical is very helpful with developers and with the building commissioners in the city, and because the building code, I see it. It's not black and white.
Sure.
Right. It's the interpretation of the code.
Yes.
So sometimes you have a building commissioner or an inspector who will say, this is the way it is.
Yep.
And the contractor's like, no, I want to do it like this.
Yep.
It's like, okay, well, all right, this is the way it says, but what
spirit
if
of the law.
What if we do it like this?
Yep.
It's still within the spirit of
Everybody's
the
happy.
code,
Yeah,
right? And then-
exactly.
right.
Yeah. And it's more about how do we get things done and make sure that everybody, in the end of the day, gets what they're looking for.
Yeah.
It's funny because like we just had this conversation twice yesterday for our Medora Photography Beyond the Listing podcast that we have, where we talk to realtors about the business of real estate outside of the listing environment, and the conversation came up quite a few times about how realtors need to work with each other to get the common goal accomplished, whether it be making sure that the deal stays together, or if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and let's part separately peacefully type of thing, right? And so that kind of correlation or that kind of teamwork environment is very similar, very parallel to what it is that you're trying to do with Fitchburg overall as a city, between your different building departments, your code enforcement officer, et cetera. And I understand what you're trying to accomplish there. What kind of resistance are you feeling in that neighborhood, or do you feel that there's generally a cooperative environment that exists right now?
In the city of Fitchburg?
In the city of Fitchburg.
Oh, there's absolutely a cooperative environment.
Fantastic.
Yeah, all of our city officials, all our departments, I feel like, they're working very well together. I rarely hear, I have to hear small problems often because, I'm glorified HR over in the mayor's office. So, solving small problems to the large problems is part of the mayor's duties.
Sure.
But when it comes to collaboration, I feel like we really do work well together.
Yep.
And sometimes, and when I'm involved also, I like to say I'm 90% schmooze, 10% muscle.
Okay.
Right, as the mayor. So, most of the time I'm involved in things, and then every once in a while I have to be like, all right, look, we need to start doing, we need to communicate, you need to have community development involved, or we need to have this process, include
together.
this person,
Yeah.
all right, so that we can all make sure that we're on the same page, or whatever it is.
Fair enough.
And so, sometimes you just need that kind of corralling, but we've improved our business permitting process already. In the past, we had a business permitting process where it kind of didn't include all of the parties that would be that have the authority in making that decision. So someone would apply for a permit, it'd have like maybe the building and fire on it, and then they'd go, okay, great, you're all set. They'd start working 6 months, they'd spend $50,000, whatever it is. They'd come for their occupancy permit, and then someone would go, wait a minute.
I didn't know about this.
You need DPW stormwater engineering. Like, well, what you did here isn't going to work. You're going to need a civil engineer.
Oh,
You're going to need
word. That's frustrating.
I heard those horror stories for years.
Yeah.
So now when you apply for a permit, it's you start with a form of intent, and it includes all the parties.
The whole scope.
Conscom, DPW engineering.
So you get your full information right from the beginning.
Right. And then I was like, hey, I need the mayor's office involved in this too, so I can take a look at it and make sure in case, just in case there's something else.
No, that's great.
You have your ear to the ground.
Checks and balances.
And you need that.
Exactly.
Now, at some point, how does that work from a handoff standpoint? Is it like ear to the ground until such a time where you feel like there's enough of a smooth operation there where you can kind of like maybe let go of it? Or is the intent at that point to remain involved so that you're holding it to your heart and making sure that you're forwarding the cause every day?
So I try to not micromanage. Right. I try, I see what everybody's doing.
Yep.
I make suggestions where I have to. If I have to be like, all right, this is not working.
Sure.
We need to do it like this.
Yep.
Then that's my role.
Yep.
But other than that, we have, the departments, have autonomy with me. Sometimes I'm calling going, all right, where are we at?
Yeah.
Where's this thing? Sure. Yeah. Okay. All right, great. That would really make my day if we could get this done.
Click. Oh, that was Sam again.
Sam calling again. But, for the most part, we try to not micromanage.
Sure.
Because I'm not the expert in all things.
Yeah.
I'm, what's the saying?
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, I know a little bit about a lot.
Right.
Yeah, a little bit about
But
a lot.
not a lot about a little.
Yeah, I get it. But it sounds to me like what you know a lot about is how to listen to what the needs are and understand the scope of those needs so that you can ensure the smooth outcome for people that are involved.
That's fair. I'd say that's fair.
So I think that from a mayoral standpoint, from an office standpoint, it's very easy to get caught up in probably like the doldrums of it, I'm guessing. Like there's probably going to be
there's doldrums. I got to sign how many things?
Yeah.
How many times I've signed my autograph?
Right. And you actually physically signed that?
Yes.
Okay. I always wondered about that, whether or not there was like a stamp.
Stamp.
You know what I mean? Like
I don't have a stamp.
I don't have a stamp. That's good.
I do, for emergencies, I do have a image of my signature.
Sure.
For when I'm on the road or something, and there's an emergency signature needed.
Right. No, that's good. That's good. So one of the things that I found that your campaign over the years and your public image over the years really took advantage of is in a good way, used effectively. Is that we're not going to say taken advantage of. We're going to say used effectively is social media and modern technologies in order for you to get your message out there.
There's no better way to connect with everybody instantly.
Yep.
Or share
Absolutely.
share everything you're doing. We used to have a newspaper that was much more active and engaged.
Yeah.
Right. But now it's social media has taken over.
Yep.
I can post something and 30,000 people will see it by the end of the day.
Sure.
So. It's absolutely the tool that we should all be using.
For sure. And you identified that and you implemented it early on, so that you were able to keep in touch with your constituents and your supporters specifically, and of course, a larger audience beyond that. And we recognize that from a business standpoint, it's not too different. In fact, it's parallel. Yeah. The purpose of marketing and social media, it exists regardless of where you're at in the spectrum, whether it be for office or for enterprise. And we admire the fact that you champion that by actively using it yourself. And so I know that internally we looked at that in the past and we said, you know what, we need to get Sam on our podcast because she understands that.
Right, and it's your personality and your authenticity that you're bringing in, and that's what we're all about here, and that's what we love about your social media is you're not hiring somebody to sit there and reply to your messages. Like, you can tell it's you. You know, you're being you, and that's what everybody loves is that they're getting the real Sam. It's not, I think overall in the city, that's the idea is that you're very personable. I've met you at a bunch of events that I've gone to. You've always stopped and said hello, take a picture, anything people want to relate to you, you're very relatable. And that's, I think, a huge part of
Well, I love
media.
people.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really good to see out in the community.
Yeah, if of the things that I did when I hired my staff, neither of them used social media.
Oh,
so I was like,
get on that, guys.
This would actually be pretty helpful, but all right, I'll handle it.
But do you enjoy that aspect of it so that you thrive off of using it, or is that something that you'd prefer to delegate?
I mean, I'm good at it, and like me being involved in just getting notifications on business permitting or parks permitting, those kinds of things, so I know what's going on.
Sure.
Social media helps me know what's going on.
Got it.
Right? I don't just share things and promote things. I do a lot of that.
All right.
I do a lot of promoting of what's going on and sharing information, but I get a lot of feedback.
Sure, you're consuming.
Right.
Yep.
Someone will post that, hey, we got a real problem with brush. Like right now, it's brush season.
Yeah.
Our brush cutter has been down for a week.
Oh, no.
And, it's like, we have just one brush cutter and, we're in a severe budget crisis, so we can't afford to buy a new one. So we got to get creative. And so we're repairing the one that we have. And, but people are like, well, this intersection and over here. And, it's really hard to see out of the rail trail. And I'm like, all right, okay, good. Adding these to the list because not everybody knows how to use social media almost. Not everybody knows how to report things correctly, to the city so that we can take action.
Yeah.
But me and my staff, we know, right? We know how to report it so that it gets done.
So you're listening to the general hubbub and then trying to filter that effectively so that you're sending people to the right places or fixing the right problems at the right times.
Right. I can't fix the problems if I don't know what the problems are.
Right.
And, people might think that we pay people in the city to just drive around looking for problems, but that's not how it works.
Yep.
We are still in a situation where we're quite reactive.
Yep.
So we need feedback from the public to tell us what can be improved. If you can get involved to improve them as well. And just really, if this thing's broken, we need them to be reported and let us know.
What is the best way for people to provide that feedback? Because I know that there are a significant amount of Facebook groups and social media outlets that just are really an echo chamber of people just complaining about problems, but nobody's actually doing anything about them because they're not being monitored by the right people or that they're not being forwarded along to the right person, right? What is the healthiest way to present challenges that people are having on a day-to-day basis that might need city oversight?
I would say that it's varied, and it depends on the problem.
Okay.
And it depends on if you've reported the problem and it hasn't been resolved, or if this is your first time reporting the problem.
Sure.
So we have this app called See Click Fix.
See Click Fix?
See Click Fix.
Okay.
It's both an app on Android and Google, Android and iPhone.
Yep.
And it is also a website at seeclickfix.com.
And is that specific to Fitchburg, or is that?
So See Click Fix is a national kind of portal that connects, for municipalities to connect, as a useful tool
This
for.
is literally the first time I've heard of it.
Well,
Yeah,
this is our main reporting. We are one of the largest users of it too.
Wow.
We really focus our attention on it.
Okay.
So and it's a great tool because it connects, the mayor's office, the health department, the building department, the police department, IT. Just all the many of the city departments get notifications when certain of the categories, right? So say you see a pothole, if you can take a picture of it, right on the app, report the pothole, give the location.
So GPS pins it and everything.
GPS will pin the picture.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Or you can put it in it. You can move the map and put it in. Describe, pothole 3 feet by 2 feet, or just take a picture. I always take a picture of my foot in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
When the DPW can see the size of the pothole, they know
the severity.
how much. Yeah, they know the severity, and they know how much material they're going to need, and what kind of machines they're going to need without having to send someone out to go look at it, and they don't got that kind of time.
It's not a two report. It's not a two touch to get it fixed.
Right, with a picture, they're like, "Yep, got it, on it,
dispatch
boom.
done."
Perfect.
Yep.
Right, and there's that. There's also for my trash was missed, my recycling was missed, and that that doesn't just go to the health department, but it also goes straight to Harvey or Waste Management.
Awesome.
So they see it
That's
right away.
fantastic.
Yeah, that really is.
That's really good. We are in a great age for technology right now.
Yep, we just got to keep encouraging people to use this.
Yep.
So that would be
Absolutely.
the number one, would be to report right on See Click Fix.
See Click Fix. Okay.
If for some reason you report something on See Click Fix and it's not getting done, then I would say from there you can either reach out to the department themselves or reach out to the mayor's office.
Okay.
We have an open door policy, and we are here to help. And we have an approach where I don't want to. If someone comes to me, I have a pothole, then I don't say go to DPW, right? My staff doesn't say okay, go to DPW. We say where's the pothole? How large is it? What's the location? We will report that for you. So we try not to make people jump around. You can call the mayor's office. You can email the mayor's office. I monitor Facebook groups as best as I can. Facebook messages as best as I can. If you send me a Facebook message and don't respond, reply back.
Yeah.
Because I get a lot of them.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure that you get inundated with contact.
Yep. But there are many ways to, report problems, which makes it a little complicated, but also that's what you got to do now.
Yeah.
There are many ways to communicate, and you've really got to be on all of them, even though I'm not on Snapchat and TikTok.
Yeah.
I got to let my daughter do that.
Yeah. What does your daughter think of you being the mayor?
Yeah, well, that's a good question.
Oh, she loves it. She would love it.
How old is she?
She's 14.
Okay.
Yeah, she thought I would have the power to remove people she didn't like from the city.
Yeah, that doesn't work like that.
I'm like, no, sorry, honey.
No, thankfully, it doesn't work like that. Yeah.
But I did get the privilege to, as mayor, to speak at the 8th grade graduation for my daughter.
Okay, yeah.
And then so I was able to embarrass her in front of all her class.
Yeah,
That's
and then she
fun.
regretted you being mayor. at that point.
She was fine with it. I've honed her into being resilient, and
Good.
I've mocked her for her whole life. So no one can make fun of her like me.
I mean,
Boy.
what an awesome role model. I mean, your mom being mayor, that's pretty cool.
I would hope so. I would hope so. We'll see what she does with it.
Yep.
Yeah. So prior to being a mom, what were your goals, or is that
Completely
so far,
wiped from my
completely
brain.
wiped?
Don't remember.
That's amazing.
I have no idea.
That's
I have no
amazing.
idea.
That's great. That's
So you
great.
didn't grow up thinking, I'm going to be the mayor someday.
So
Well, actually, in high school, I thought I would own a pet shop and have lots of pets.
do you have any?
Well, I do have 2 dogs and a cat. I didn't want the cat, but now I love the cat. Love dogs, though. Yeah, dogs are the superior
Oh, you're our
animal.
people
Let's be
then.
serious.
We love dogs around here.
That's funny. That's funny. So, but that's awesome though that motherhood essentially turned you into this community advocate.
Yeah,
That's
and you know,
amazing.
when doors open, you know, try to walk through them because you never know what kind of opportunity awaits you.
For sure.
You know?
See, I like the fact though that as I heard it from you, that your vision was to help create an environment and city that your children wanted to return to.
Yeah, it's kind of my selfish goal.
That's
right?
not.
I want to make
not
the city
selfish.
so wonderful that my daughter stays here forever. Selfish goal.
I understand what you mean by selfish, and I would contest that word by saying that's your personalized variant of that goal.
Yeah.
Right? And what you're doing is you're identifying that on a personal level, but that personal level is also a larger social community level that impacts others in a similar positive way. Because if you're carrying that and championing that cause for your own family, it's also positively impacting everyone else's family who, whether or not they care about that, they don't know, or they do know that that's happening on their behalf.
Oh yeah, everyone else's children. Come back.
Come on back.
Come back.
Yeah.
Well, you know, go somewhere else, learn how everything else is done, see what's good, see what's
Right.
bad, come back, tell us.
Tell us.
Well,
Exactly.
there is
Yeah.
that too. Yeah, it's a lot like a lot of business owners, men and women. Their children very rarely come back to the family business immediately after college. Usually, the best way to do it is to say, no, you're going to go cut your teeth somewhere else first, and then you're going to come work for us afterwards. You're not just going to take over the company. You're going to work from the bottom up. That way you understand the trials and tribulations as an employee, not just the owner's son or daughter.
Oh,
right?
isn't that such a good approach?
It is a very good approach. It's a very good approach because what ends up happening is nepotism really starts declining at that point. And there's that sense of privilege. It starts getting honed off because the child who, obviously as an adult starts understanding the ins and outs as to the why we do the things that we do, not just because dad or mom said so, or this is how it's always been done, da 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 da. And I'm sure that you get that a lot in politics, for whether it be city council or just the departments of this is how things go. Does it have to be though? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what about presenting a new idea? And so that's what I really love about your vision and your inclusion in all of that interdepartmental behavior, is so that people can have that opportunity to kind of maybe challenge why things get done the way that they get done, so that there could be some chance for kind of a revival of sorts.
Yeah, and just broadening your perspective with education or traveling or just learning what other communities are doing or other cities or other departments or what other approaches are happening that are working, what have not worked, to bring that back here instead of just going over the same thing over and over. What's the definition of insanity?
Yeah.
Right.
Doing the
Exactly.
same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome.
Yep.
Right? So, that's big.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we can get more of that and more taking responsibility and less entitlement.
All right.
More doing things for the greater good.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always good.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. What would you say is your largest challenge as mayor that we can break into two categories. What is the thing that you expected to be the most challenging, and what is actually the most challenging?
What did I expect to be the most challenging? I would just say the being able to coordinate and communicate all these things that what I'd like to see happen, like when it comes to like roads and road management and being able, educating everyone along the way, and then putting the system in place, and then continuously making sure that everyone knows what we're doing and why we're doing it. That I felt like that would be probably the most challenging. And what I was surprised about was being the most challenging was that not only did we not have any money, we had negative money, right? I thought I'd come in we'd have at least some free cash to be able that I could implement some things. And no, I came into this going, okay, so we're almost $8 million in deficit.
Wow.
So, what are we going to do? Like, oh, well, great.
Is it on a positive trend to get out of that deficit, or is it fairly flat or declining even further?
So, we've done a lot of spending, and we haven't made a lot of adjustments in our we've done a lot of spending, in the city, and we've done a lot of adjustments to benefits and wages, which we needed to do, but turns out we couldn't afford them without increasing revenue.
I understand.
And so we haven't increased any revenue. So that's. We've been on
the
that.
radar.
We've been having a tough time for a few years.
For sure.
And so now it's come to a culmination point. We have to work to both, identify the sources of, costs to the city, and then make sure that those costs are being equitably, paid for. Like right now, for example, we have this mandate from the EPA. We've had it for a number of years. It's called the MS4 program. And it's a program where, the stormwater system needs to have a certain amount of spending and work done to it. And the largest contributors to our stormwater infrastructure are impervious surface, right? So right now, all the taxpayers are paying for all the stormwater work that we need to do. Whereas, a more equitable system would be that you distribute those funds to those users of the largest impervious surface, right? The largest contributors to the stormwater system. And, these things are, the size of the pipe, the catch basins, cleaning of the catch basins, water, the more impervious surface, the more water flows, so the larger pipes, so the bigger the road, the bigger pipe under the road, the more the larger you got to dig. If you think about it in a really large sense, that's one example.
That's just one.
Right, that's one example. And, we've had 4% hotel tax, which is less than the 6% for, since 1991 or maybe 1997, something like that. But, so we kept that low, hoping that more hotels would be built, right? I assume, I don't know why. But, so that's less income that's been coming to the city for the last 20 years or so. We haven't attracted not one hotel. So, it's like we are in a situation where we can't afford not to put those funds. We're in a budget. We can't afford to cut $4 million worth of fire, police, DPW, and services.
That would be a city ender.
That'd be catastrophic. So we need to increase revenue, and so we need to continue to look at ways to do that. To make sure that we can afford to provide the city services that we need and deserve.
I imagine that the city has a very active grant manager.
We do not have a specific grant writer.
Oh my.
No.
Oh my.
And I couldn't afford to hire anyone.
Right. In theory, though, from a business management standpoint, I feel like it's one of those if you build it, they will come kind of things where the grant writer could probably pay for their own salary in very short order through writing grants or getting grants awarded to the city.
Yes. And I mean, in this situation, in a situation when you're $7.6 million in deficit, you can't afford to hire a new person, especially when you're, not filling open positions. But so the city of Gardner contracted out with a part-time grant writer. So they have a grant with a grant writer. And so we are actually working with Gardner and Leominster and Westminster for a regional EV charging grant for one. Fitchburg is working with National River Watershed Association for these climate resiliency grants. And so we've got some great awards there and those kinds of grants help with infrastructure work as well. So if we're using green infrastructure, they're helping to actually improve our infrastructure. Just we use green infrastructure approaches.
Of course.
And then, so the community development department, writes a lot of grants. We've got a lot of individual departments that manage grants. But moving forward, I'd like to, I was talking with the mayor of Gardner, what's going on with this? And he had wanted originally to work with Fitchburg for this regional grant writer, but that wasn't in the cards then. But I'm like, let's do this now. Let's do Leominster Gardner, Fitchburg, some sort of regional, whatever we can do to regionally collaborate. That's what the state wants to say.
Yeah, I see that as a proper use of labor costs and shared responsibility. I mean, obviously from a whose job is it kind of perspective, I can see how there could be some challenging things there. We see very often when a shared community approach works, it works exceptionally well. And when those communities don't get along, it just doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
And so I imagine that between Gardner, Leominster, and Fitchburg, there's a lot of capacity.
There's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah, and and the three of us mayors get along very well.
That's great to hear.
That's what I've
That's
noticed
great.
too. Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm not familiar with Gardner's mayor.
Mike Nicholson.
Mike Nicholson?
Yeah, so he was Mayor Mark Hawk's, I think, chief of staff, or he was the staff with Mayor Mark Hawk.
All
So
right. And how long
he learned a lot about what's going on. And when Mark Hawk left, I believe there was a special election for mayor, and Mike Nicholson won that. I believe that was like 2018, 2019.
Okay. And he's been sitting since?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So 5-6 years ish
Something
in that
like
ballpark.
that.
Okay. All right. And then of course Mazzarella has been in office. Like he's seen it all.
Oh yeah, he's the longest serving mayor in Massachusetts.
Yep.
So
Yep.
the longest serving mayor you call the dean of mayors. So he's
Yeah.
the dean of deans.
He is the dean of deans.
Yeah, whenever we're at a mayor's there's usually a monthly mayor's meeting where mayors from the Commonwealth, there's
Oh, okay.
41 mayors across the Commonwealth
Yep.
that get together and commiserate and share solutions and strategies. And Mayor Mazzarella usually comes, and I always go there, and it's always longest serving mayor, shortest serving mayor.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. One day that torch will get passed for you.
Right.
And for
the Gardner
him.
mayor's on the younger side, right? Because I think that he made a joke at the chamber 40th anniversary that he was the same age as that Dean Mazzarella has been. So I think he's around 30. He's around 30.
So he was born when Dean took office.
He made some joke like that.
my.
It was like a year difference
And
or
then,
something.
Mazzarella was made some sort of sippy cup joke.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I love the connection between the three of you,
Yeah.
working together, and it's all different ages, and all that good stuff.
Sometimes I say, Mayor Mazzarella signed my high school graduation diploma.
Yeah.
He's like, don't tell people that.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's good to have that camaraderie, and that just candor with with each other.
Yep.
Because it greases the skids. Let's face it, right? Having that personalization with other elected officials, it just means that it's a simple phone call, right? It's not a bunch of red tape. I mean, obviously you have all the paperwork that still needs to get filed to get something done. However,
Oh yeah, you still get the wheels of
yes,
government.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's always will be there.
But really, in the end, if the people that oversee the wheels are all on the same page as to what needs to happen, the wheels turn.
Yeah, and I can tell you the mayor of Leominster is always available and helpful with Fitchburg.
Yep.
If I got a Fitchburg specific issue, or he wants Fitchburg to succeed. And I mean, let's say the same kind of selfish with my daughter. If Fitchburg succeeds,
So does
Leominster
Leominster.
succeeds. If Fitchburg gets dragged down, so does Leominster.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
and
We've
the
seen
same,
that too many
Yep,
times.
the same with Gardner.
Yep.
So we are all connected.
Yeah.
So we all the rising tide lifts all ships.
For sure.
Right. So
That's a
I
wonderful
think we all
statement.
understand that.
Yep. That's very good. It's very good. It's inspiring because I didn't grow up in the area. I grew up in Lewiston, Maine.
Oh, okay.
And Lewiston Auburn has an exceptionally similar approach to Fitchburg Leominster. The difference is that Lewiston Auburn are probably 10 years behind where Fitchburg Leominster are, only due to the fact that Maine enterprise, Maine infrastructure is just not there. It
Well,
just
it's so
isn't there.
far north.
It's that, and we have one exit off of the turnpike, right? And so we don't have the access to the towns that Fitchburg Leominster has, with Route 2 cutting right through. You guys have a fantastic pipeline coming right through there.
Got train, plane,
Right.
Highway, river.
Yeah, Lewiston has a small municipal airport similar to Fitchburg's, but it's on the outskirts of Auburn rather, and so it's not super accessible. There's business parks, but they're all like very industrial parks. They're not really like hybrid commercial parks, and so it's challenging to see how they're doing. And I'm just kind of gauging how Leominster Fitchburg are doing, and trying to take away some of that and maybe envision what Lewiston Auburn is going to do at some point, right? Because if you take a look at Lawrence, Lowell, Fitchburg, and then Athol, you have essentially 4 variants of the same-ish model. Obviously, there's a lot of details that are different in between each of the cities, what they have for pros and cons, so on and so forth. But the truth of the matter is, they're just different revisions of the stages of completion of the overhaul of the community.
And you can take that west to Springfield and Pittsfield,
right?
too.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at essentially the 495-2 corridor, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's just a little blip there to get across. But yes, I agree, and it's heartwarming to see, or rather, it's encouraging to see where the cities that are further along that progress, where they're currently at, because you can take a look at their models and how they got to get there, and try to apply it to our own community, and hope for that similar outcome, or maybe avoid some of the pitfalls that they had along the way.
Oh yeah, and we have these monthly mayors meetings, and the mayors that go to them are the mayors that know everything that's going on in their community. So I'll sit there with Revere or Lynn or Medford or Melrose, and we're like, all right, what are you doing with parking in your downtown? And they're like, oh, you got to do this.
Give me some ideas.
Not doing this. And I'm like,
you pull out the accent really well, by the way.
I know, right? Love it.
It's when you speak fast.
Exactly. But deriving those ideas from other cities that have been there, done that.
Right. Like, what are you doing right? What didn't work?
Yeah. Yeah. And why?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the things that didn't work because of a specific reason that can be avoided to make it work. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's good. All right. So in the spirit of this podcast, so what's next? Because what we're really interested in the end, so you tell your story, you're giving us an overview of what's going on, how's it been going, what are your challenges, etc. What's next up the pike as far as either your role as mayor or your role as a mom or whatever it might be? What's coming up in your crystal ball of sorts?
Well, as my role as a mom, my daughter's going to high school.
Yeah.
And she's got friends. Yeah. The past month, she's got friends. So we're looking real good there.
Awesome.
And then as my role as a mayor, the first 6 months really have been a lot, and 7 months have been a lot of kind of cleaning up the things that haven't been done.
Sure.
Fixing small mistakes, fixing small problems that have lingered for years, that take a few days, or creating policies that haven't been created, or, dealing with a lot of the things that haven't been done.
Yeah.
So really, what's next, I'd really love to start having more available time to work on the things that I want to work on.
Can you give us some insight as to what those are?
Well, so a big issue that we have had is the city hasn't had a road contract in a few years.
Okay.
So we've had trouble putting those out, and I didn't realize that until a few months into being mayor. So now,
can you describe that function for us?
So creating bids and specifications and all the requirements involved for putting road paving, road work, sidewalk, infrastructure. Maintenance of
current or brand new?
Both.
Both.
They're all integral and interconnected.
Yep.
So we've adjusted our approach a little. We've included other departments to streamline this approach, and add some things in there to improve that. So making sure that we are not just fixing the worst roads first at the most amount of money per square foot, as opposed to keeping the good roads good at pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
And
ounce of
elongating their
prevention, pound of
lifespan.
cure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I read that post of yours. That was very interesting. How you wrote that. Like can you just explain it to him how you wrote that out? Like, you spend pennies here and dollars there. I thought that was very interesting.
Right. One way I could describe it is, let's say I spend $1 million, the most amount of money. I let this road fail.
Yeah.
Completely fail.
Yeah.
So I spend $1 million fixing this road.
Yeah. Bringing it back from the depths.
So what's your option? After 10 years, let's say in 10 years you do nothing at all to that road.
And then you spend $1 million at the end.
It's completely failed again, and now it's another $1 million.
Yep. And
so
a lot of time.
Theoretically, that lasts another 10 years, let's say. So that's 20 years, $2 million.
Yep.
Or you could that road has failed, you spend $1 million. After 10 years, let's say you say, after 2 years, 3 years, you say, okay, that road needs like a fog seal treatment. That costs, $10,000.
Right.
Right? So we spend $10,000 on that road at year 3.
Yep.
That elongates the lifespan of the road 5 years.
Yeah.
And then let's say at year 8, we're like, all right, we need another treatment. Well, let's do a microsurfacing treatment or some other cracks. We'll do crack sealing at year 5. That costs $10,000, whatever. We at year 8, year 10, we're putting another low cost road treatment that's very quick and non-invasive. Right. So now we've spent $1.1 million over the course of 20 years,
or even
as opposed to
1.2, like it's significantly underneath. Yeah, for sure.
And then we do that times 182 miles of road. Over a period, after a number of years.
It pays dividends.
Now we're starting. Now we're working our way down from the road deficit. Right. It's like your own family budget. Right. Instead of overspending and never being able to catch up, we are reducing our debt. And that's over time. We reduce our debt, and that's what a road pavement management program is going to do. And so
has that not been in place?
That has not been in place.
Okay.
We've been kind of the previous approach was, here's the conditions of our roads. Okay, best to worst, let's flip it. Okay, worst to best, we'll fix these first. Okay. And the worst roads are the ones that need the most amount of money. And instead of doing instead of a pavement management approach, would say, okay, here's one worst road. Here's a road that needs a little bit of. We'll spend top dollar on this. We'll do crack sealing on these. We'll do some intermediate cost savings on these intermediate failing roads. So you need a integrated approach, right? That includes the keeping the good roads good and fixing the worst roads.
Yeah. So you're ending up getting out of the triage everything to just simply have them visit the doctor regularly. Right. And at that point, and just like health.
It's like your health. Right. Instead of
it's so much
having
cheaper.
diabetes, instead of working it, and then you get to a point where now you have to cut your foot off because you haven't treated your diabetes. That's going to be very expensive. Or you just take your medicine over a period of time, and
daily maintenance.
You don't fail.
No, exactly.
So quickly.
That's exactly it. And the same holds true for even someone's vehicle or their house. Building maintenance, auto maintenance, they're all the same thing, right?
Auto maintenance, you can make this analogy for everything that people can really understand. Auto maintenance
that's
is the same thing.
That's the important part, is making it personal for them.
It's like not changing your oil. Right?
Right.
You don't change your oil, you just focus on, the cars. So we have a fleet of cars and we put all the cars out, and then when one car breaks because the engine seized, we replace that car. Or you could just maintain the oil, fix the tire, maintain the tires, and now those cars are lasting longer. I mean, you can make this analogy for so many things.
The analogy is best though for the general population to understand how they can contribute themselves, right? And the truth of the matter is, like everything government based, it starts with the people and it goes up from there, right? The people itself support the government, not vice versa. At least this is the seat that I come from, and how we maintain our own households will translate to how our city is maintained. Because if we're all responsible for our little square of land, and we are all pulling in that same direction that the city is also trying to pull in, then we are all complementing what the city is trying to do. And that's how it starts in the neighborhoods and spreads out from there versus coming into the neighborhoods, right? It needs to start somewhere, and what better place to do it than your own backyard?
And knowing what's going on. And, and making sure that you are learning what's going on, as opposed to, sometimes just seeing fear-based, hate-based posts and going, everything's wrong.
The sky is falling.
All politicians are bad. Nothing's getting done. As opposed to, saying, hey, what are we doing with this? And then having that, learning and going, okay. I understand. Maybe we could do, I'd like to see this happen, but I understand what's happening.
Yeah, I like it. Cool. Anything for you?
No, do you want to do a card?
I'd like to do a card, yeah.
All right.
So these are question cards. You are welcome to veto the question, and you can go ahead and draw another one if you don't like it. Go ahead and ask that question to the camera and answer it.
For what will you congratulate yourself a year from now? Another card.
Let's
do another card. I don't know.
Let's try that one.
What will you do to make the upcoming year as good as, if not better than, last year? I mean, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, reaching out to everybody, awesome. Making sure that we're all moving forward.
Yep.
I don't know.
No, that's good. That's good. Some people might be like, well, you know what? I'm experiencing an overhaul in my life right now, and I'm going to be starting this new thing, right? And it sounds to me like you're just going to intentionally apply a continued approach to what you're already doing. And that's a good place to be, because you're exhibiting consistency and patience and determination. And those are very good qualities for your office.
Thank you. That sounds right.
There you go.
Exactly right.
So, if you need a political advisor, just kidding. No,
I take all the advice and all the prayers.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's a good. Oh, I'm gonna have to use that one. I'm gonna use that one. All right. Well, wonderful. It's been really, really nice sitting down with you and getting some insight as to the inner workings of your position, as well as kind of the general direction of Fitchburg and what the challenges that exist, but also the opportunities that exist. And
happy to be here.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
And we're thrilled to be part of the community here.
We really are.
We're really happy we settled in Fitchburg and continue to grow here.
Yep.
Well, we're the best.
Yeah. Well, we've found a very warm welcome here.
Okay.
And that's an important thing for us, because prior we were in Ayer at our office, and I know that Ayer's very, very different, and I get that, but not once did anybody say, "Hey, how are you? You're new," type of thing. And we no sooner were in here, and already we were part of the chamber, we were part of networking events, we were, schmoozing with the upstairs neighbor, the downstairs neighbor, stuff like that. And that kind of warm, community-based welcome was really invigorating for us, because it proved to us that we were making the right move.
Well, whenever anyone asks me, what's the best part of Fitchburg, I always start with our community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The people here care and get involved, and they are generous.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's good. That's good. Well, I'd like to, in a year, have you back, because I'd like to see how things have been going, and kind of maybe talk a little bit about the changes that had been made between now and then, if that's something that you're up for.
Sounds great.
And we'll circle back.
We'll put it in the calendar, and all of a sudden we'll say, "Wow, that was a year ago."
That's
Seriously.
exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. I'm going to pull up that soundbite, and we're going to play it. But thank you again for being here.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
guys.
Thank you.